master will show up. And as I said earlier, ladies and gentlemen, master was very much a snake. Because master would tell us that he's going to town. In reality, he would get on his horse and he would disappear into the sky, what have you. Well, really what he would do, he would go to the edge of the forest and he would tie his horse up. Now please understand that when you're working the fields consist of corn. Everybody know that corn has height. Tobacco, you know, tobacco has height. Cotton, some of that cotton, yes, it has height. So he could easily park his horse and come back and sneak up on us, which he's done a few times, and catch us and whip us. So Isaiah, that's why he was saying, you know that snake, he'll catch you, so you best to get up, Frederick. Well, I attempted to get up, but then I fell back again, and my side was really hurting me so bad. And as I looked, as I opened my eyes, there he was, standing before me. And I was looking for him to scream and holler at me. But master kindly said, Frederick, what's wrong? Are you okay? And it startled me because he said in the manner that he said. Well, when I said, no, master, I was in pain. And he says, where are you in pain at? I says, I was in pain right here on my left side, master. Well, I have you know that when I told master my pain was on the left side, master hauled off and kicked me dead in my left side. And not only did he kick me in my left side, he pulled a limb off the tree. And as he pulled a limb off the tree, he began to hit me with it. And he burst my skull. I had blood just flowing all through me. I managed to perk up the strength to run 7 miles back to Master Huard. And when I burst in the door, I was screaming, Master, 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 help me, help me. They're hurting me. They're trying to kill me. Now let me come to the future, real. Let me come to the present. If your child was to run to you and say that, I'm getting whipped, quite naturally, you would jump. Quite naturally, you would call 911 to save your child. Well, I have you know, when I ran back, Master R just stood up and he said, Frederick, if you don't go back, I'll whip you myself. And Miss Sophia, she screamed at Master and said, Hugh, you let Frederick stay. When in my mind, even though I was in pain, in my mind, I was smiling because she took a pause. You let Frederick stay. I was hoping after the pause that she would say, don't let him go back, he can stay. But after the pause, sir, she said, let him stay tonight. I give credit to Miss Sophia because she took me upstairs and she washed me up. She allowed me to bathe myself. And there was a nice, comfy bed awaiting me. Well, the next morning come, which was Saturday, I began to walk down the stairwell. But there was a smell all through the house. It was Saturday morning. And that smell that was all through the house as I was walking down the stairwell was penetrating through my nostrils. That smell was no other than Saturday's breakfast. I think it was some eggs and bacon, and I believe you all call it pancakes, but back then we called it flapjacks. And there was some juice and some coffee. So as I'm coming down the stairwell, quite naturally, you can hear yourself. Raise your hand if you can hear yourself walking up and down the stairwell. Well, my stomach was growling so loud, I couldn't even hear. It was just drowning out my feet as I was going down the stairwell. And I have you know, as I got down the stairwell and I got to the kitchen, I attempted to put my hand on the kitchen chair to move it so I could take a seat and eat. Master didn't say anything. He just pointed to the door. So I found myself going back to the plantation of Master Corvée. Ladies and gentlemen, let me move the chair so you can see. Please acknowledge my right leg. Everybody see my right leg? Ladies and gentlemen, acknowledge this is the fence. Acknowledge my right leg as I attempted to go over the fence. But as I attempted to go over the fence, I saw coming before me Master Corvée. And Master Corvée, in his right hand, he had a whip. Acknowledge my right leg. I took that right leg back off that chair, and I ran into the woods for another day. I came back, attempting to do the right thing. Well, again, I put my right leg over the fence. Who's a-coming? It's Master Corvée's a-coming. That's right. So I'll take this right leg off that fence, and I get to going. Well, this time, I got to going, and I ran about 7 miles. When I ran those 7 miles, I ran into a free black man that was living out in the woods in a hut with his wife, his free wife. Yeah, I believe his name is Mr. Ruffles. Now, Mr. Ruffles noticed me. And he said, "Frederick, son, come go with me." I was kind of hesitant because I didn't know if he was going to turn me in or what. But I encouraged up myself and I went on with him. And when I got there, I got into this house and I saw his wife and what have you. Well, believe it or not, they allowed me to eat. They allowed me to bathe. And they allowed me to sleep. But that next morning, Mr. Ruffles said, "Frederick, come go with me. Come on, go with me." So I goes with him. Now, let me ask you, how many of you all have a dog? Anybody here got a pet dog? Okay, we got one that got a pet dog. Now, you know when you let that dog go out in the backyard, that dog has a tendency of digging. Well, Mr. Ruffles, while I'm standing there, he became the dog. And he started digging. And he got so far down, and he pulled up a rabbit's foot. And he said, "Frederick, if you put this rabbit foot in your right pocket, I promise you, you won't get whipped." Well, my response was, "I don't believe in superstition. I'm not taking that rabbit's foot." He said, "Okay, you don't have to take the rabbit foot. Just go back there and take the whipping." I said, "Well, you give me that rabbit foot." And I put that rabbit foot in my pocket. And I'll have you know, when I got back to that plantation, please, ladies and gentlemen, let me show you. Here's my right leg. Everybody see my right leg? Here's the fence. This time, I go back and I put my leg over that fence. Who's coming?
Master Corvée.
Master Corvée's coming. But Master Corvée don't have a whip. Master Corvée, he sees me and he says, "Frederick, how are you? Come on." So I go over the fence. I have you know, ma'am, Mr. Corvée put his arms around me. And we walked just like this. And he was talking to me. And he said, "Frederick," and I'm like, "Yes, master." Quite naturally, my head is down. He's like, "Frederick, take the day off." Wow, and I'm thinking to myself, this rabbit foot really working. Take the day off. You know? Matter of fact, go have some victuals. So I go and have some victuals. And he says, "I need you to do me a favor." He didn't say, "I want you, you better." He said, "I want you to do me a favor." I was like, "Yes, master." I said, "Tomorrow when you wake up, I would like for you to go to the barn and I'd like you to clean up the stalls." I said, "Yes, master." I have you know by night's end, I'm laying there, sir, trying to compute everything that just went on. I didn't get a whipping. He was friendly. So I have you know, in my little pocket, I'm playing with that rabbit's foot. I'm getting the best out of it. Matter of fact, when I finally pulled it out, all the fur had went off of it. I guess that's why when Monday came, and I was cleaning up the stalls, as such, I noticed someone coming in the door. And when I turned around to look, it was Master Corvée. Master Corvée with a whip. And as he lashed out with that whip, it wrapped around my ankle. He pulled me some, but I managed to bend down. Now keep in mind now, I'm a little herculoid. So I managed to bend down and unwrap that whip from around my ankle and wrap it around my wrist. And when I wrapped it around my wrist, I commenced to pulling him towards me. And as he came towards me, he managed to drop the whip, and then we went at each other. And master said, "Freddie, you must want to die today." I said, "Well, master, I guess I'm going to die today because you ain't going to whip me no more." We went for a good 2 hours. Now, in the midst of the 2 hours, I have you know there was a slave because he was calling him, "Robert! Robert!" So Robert came in, and he was coming towards me. And he said, "I'm coming, master, I'm coming." But when he got close to me, I said, "Don't you touch me." So I kicked him, and he ran off. the next slave came because he heard all the commotion. He looked in the door such as, and then he ran on. Now, the third person was a young lady. The young lady was big and burly, and she had strength. And and Master was calling on her. And her response was, Master, I'm not here to help you whip up on Freddie. Now, I ain't got nothing to do with that. And sir, while we were tussling, I was saying to myself, thank you, Lord, because if she would have came in, I would have been gotten. That's right. So she just kept on. She said, I'm not here to help you whip on Frederick. So she went on about her business. And when it was all said and done, I got up, Master stayed down. And in the weeks ahead, Master had the nerve to say to me, Frederick, you're glad I didn't whip you. Don't have me get at you again. Well, I said to myself, you don't want no more of this. You better go pick on another slave because you ain't getting nothing here. And I have you know that if you were a weak slave, yes, they whipped you until they couldn't whip you anymore. As a matter of fact, there was a slave by the name of Sally. Unfortunately, Sally had been whipped so bad that she was whipped into deformity. She couldn't walk, her hand was twisted, and that's how bad she got whipped if you was a passive slave. If you didn't speak up for yourself, if you didn't protect yourself, you were whipped. Well, I stayed on that plantation for another 6 months. And Master dare not hit me within that 6 months. They finally moved me to another plantation, and this plantation was owned by no other than Master Freeman. Everybody say free man.
Free man.
You know, free man. Because that's a two-syllable word. That's free and man put together. So free man, freedom man, free man. Well, I loved Master Freeman. And the reason I loved Master Freeman, because though we had to go out to that field and we had to work, but when that sun went down, and when Saturday morning came, sir, we were free on our own to do what we wish. Well, there were some of the slaves that were out there getting drunk. Some of the slaves were court chipping. Some of the slaves, you know, the younger slaves, they want to challenge each other and wrestle with each other. Well, myself, I wound up sometimes in a tree. I wound up in a tree sometimes, sir, with a book in my hand, reading. And it would wind up so much so that I would have Sunday classes. Yeah, I was teaching other slaves how to read. Sometimes I would have 30 to 40 slaves gathered around in the cabin. Or maybe if not in the cabin, maybe out in the woods, teaching these slaves how to read. And believe me, those slaves were just as young as 7, and some was old as 60 years old, being taught how to read by a 15-year-old. Well, let me ask a question. How many of you all know who Judas is? Anybody know who Judas is? You know about Judas, right? Well, there was a Judas in the camp. You know there's always one. So this Judas ran back and told Master, Master, Freddie out there teaching them slaves how to read. Master's out there, Freddie's out there teaching them. Master, you need to go out there and whip them. You need to go whip them. Well, I have you know that's what them slave masters did. They came out there and they whipped us. They sure did. And they broke up our what? Weekend congregation of being taught. And as a matter of fact, hey, I'm getting a little ahead of myself because I recall I wrote some passes. And it was Elijah is free to go to the store. James is free to go to the next plantation. Yeah, I used to write these. Yeah. But I wouldn't sign my name though. So we had got together because we were planning to escape. Well, 2 of the young men, they figured out they couldn't wait. Well, they got caught. And this one Saturday morning, we were in the kitchen because Aunt Katie was cooking biscuits. And let me tell you, those biscuits that she cooked, those biscuits, you'll take a whipping for them. That's how delicious they were. That's how delicious they were. Well, I'll have you know, as I looked out, I saw maybe 6 horses coming our way. And, of course, it was slave masters coming this way. But 2 of the horses seemed like they had 6 legs. Yeah, 6 legs. And what it was, once they got up and they jumped off the horse and tied them up, the 2 horses that looked like they had 6 legs, it was really 2 slaves that couldn't wait on us. They decided to run on their own. So they got caught. And when they got caught, they were brought back. Well, I have you know, one of those slave masters came and asked for Master Freeman. Is our Freeman here? Yes. I need to talk to him. Okay, so they go get Master Freeman. Master Freeman comes, and the first thing they say, somebody in here wrote a pass. We got these passes. Well, while they were talking about that, I could hear earshot. I could hear them talking about those passes. Well, I'll have you know what I did with my pass. I slapped that thing in between a what? Biscuit. And I ate that thing. That thing was delicious. So the other slave, he hauled off and asked me, Frederick, what should I do with my pass? I said, just stand there and keep it to get a whipping. Put the thing in the biscuit and eat it. And he said, for real? I said, yeah. So he put it in between the biscuit and he ate it. So when they come and looking for passes, now that you got an x-ray machine. So, well, what happened was they kind of figured I was the one that wrote the passes. So what they did, they came and they got us. And they took us to jail. Well, I have you know, I was so happy to be going to jail. That was that was probably one of the happiest times of my life, to go to jail. Why was I so happy to go to jail? Well, please, let me know. Let me let you know. I was so happy to go to jail because when I got to jail, there was a nice bed there. I was so happy to go to jail because when I got to jail, ma'am, I got to eat some nice food. Ma'am, I was so eager to go to jail because guess what? I could take a shower and clean myself. That's right. But on the outside, there were slave masters out there. Frederick, we're going to kill you. We're going to hang you up and we're going to strip your body down. That's what we're going to do to you. And then we're going to put you in fire and kill you. That's what we're going to do. I have you know I was scared. Well, here come my savior. The other slaves, they had been already captured. Their masters that came and got them. I was the last one in the jail. Well, guess who came and saved my day? Master Huard. Yeah, Master Huard came and he saved my day. And he said, Frederick, I have a good nerve to send you down to Mississippi. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if I would have got sent to Mississippi, tonight would never happen. Because there would be no Frederick Douglass. Because once you're shipped off down south to Mississippi and Alabama, there's no escaping. You are there for the duration of your life. Well, instead of sending me down to Mississippi, Master took me back to the house. Master began to teach me a trade. That's right. He began to teach me a trade. What trade did he teach me? He taught me how to be a ship caulker. That means that when the wood is put up, the little gaps that's in the wood, I had to put the hay in the little gaps. And I also learned how to read as well, even further, because on each one of those slabs of wood, there were letters there. An L, that's for the left side. An R, that's for the right side. B, that's for bottom. U, that's for up. So, as I stood around and I listened to these professionals, I started learning even more. But the downside of that, because I was the only black slave that was there, that's right, I said slave, even though I was getting paid for my work, they would say I would have maybe 4 or 5 men out there. Frederick, I need you over here. Come here, boy. Look, you Negro, you get over here. Come here, slave, I need you over here now. I saw myself going in 15 different places. And one day, because I didn't act fast enough, sir, they attacked me. I didn't bow down, no. Because, see, after I whipped Master Corvée, I said I would never bow down again. Well, we fought. And I fought as many of them as I can, even though one kicked me in my eye, and I wound up having blood coming out of my eyes. Well, I ran home and I told Master Huard. You know what Master Huard did? Master Huard went down there to that shipyard, and he raised all kind of cane. And then he left there and he went down to the sheriff department. That's right, with me with him. And he was upset and he was mad. Well, guess what? The sheriff said, I don't care how many of those Negroes that saw that, it doesn't count. So in other words, they could beat us as much as they want to. But it didn't matter. Now, if the table was turned we would be the ones to get in trouble. Well, Master took me out of that shipyard, and he allowed me to go out and get another job. This job was paying me an amazing $6 a week. Oh, sir, I was rich. $6 a week. And I had to take my $6 home to Master. When I took my $6 home to Master, Master took my $6. Master felt guilty that he was taking my $6. So Master gave me a portion of that $6 back. Yes, he did. How much you think Master gave me back?
Penny?
Oh,
50 cents.
how much?
50 cents.
That's not 2020. How much you think the Master gave me? There you go. Give her a round of applause. That's right. Master would give me a nickel. Every time I took that $6, he would give me a nickel. And as a matter of fact, I wound up getting another job. That's right. How much you think I was making? I got a raise. How much you think I was making on this job? I started out making $6. How much you think I made on this job?
7.
No. How much you think I made? 9? You're close. How much you think I made?
10.
10! Give her a round of applause. I made $10. That's right. Now, did I take that whole $10 and give it to Master?
Nope.
I have you know I didn't. I went home and gave Master that $6. I took that $4 and I took it out to the woods. And I dug a hole because I know Mr. Ruffles, he got that rabbit foot out that hole. So I went and put it in that same hole. And when I got enough of those dollars in, well, guess what? I wound up meeting a beautiful young lady. And as a matter of fact, if you look behind you on that green board back there, you'll see my beautiful wife, Anna married. Anna and I started courtshiping. As a matter of fact, I was 17 years old. She was 16, and we started courtship. I told Anna that I had a dream. The dream was to escape and go north. Well, instead of Anna saying, "No, Frederick, they'll kill you," I have you know, Anna said, "I will sell some of my merchandise for you." Because Anna was a free woman. So Anna sold some of her merchandise. Not only that did she sell her merchandise, she knew a gentleman who had a navy suit. Red top, white pants, and a red hat. Oh, I'm sorry, a white hat. And she knew another gentleman that had an ID. That's right. So you know what she did? She connected with that gentleman, and that gentleman connected with me by giving me that sailor suit. And when I got on that train, I have you know,
Identity theft. At its earliest, right?
excuse me, what you say? I don't know nothing about that. So I have you know that when that train came at that terminal in Baltimore, and that conductor was standing outside, tickets, tickets. Well, I have you know, I did not go straight up and say, no. I waited till that train started moving. And I ran onto that train. And when I ran onto that train, I managed to get me a seat. Now, the car that I sat on, I have you know, on this side of the car, there were a couple of black men sitting here. There were a couple of black men over here, and maybe a black woman back there. You know, a white couple here. So as I'm sitting here by the window, nervous as all outdoors, I hear him coming. Tickets! Ticket, ticket, tickets! It seemed like the closer he got to me, the more wet I got from sweat. And as he got down and I heard him talking to the two young black men that was over here, they said, "You boys got a ticket? If you don't have a ticket, I'll throw you off this train right now." Well, they came up with a ticket. But then when he came up to me, he kindly said, "Oh, you're a soldier." I said, "Yes, sir, I was a soldier. Do you have a pass or ID?" I said, "Well, I usually don't travel with my ID. I leave that at the fort." He said, "Do you have any identification on your or anything?" Well, I went into my coat pocket and I pulled out the pass. Now, please understand, the pass had an eagle on it. That was it. So when I flashed it, he saw the eagle. He said, "Okay, all right, you sit here and don't you make a sound." Now, please keep in mind, if he would have made me unravel that past, I would have been gone. What you said that was, ma'am? Identity theft? Yes, I would have been gone back to slavery. So he just said, you sit on here and you don't make a sound. Well, I have you know, I was the quietest one on that train. A mice couldn't have been quieter than me. And next thing I know, 18 hours later, we landed in New York City. And when I got off that train, I saw the most wonderful appearance. I saw black women that were walking with nice dresses on and a little pocketbook and a little hat on them. And I saw black men that were in nice suits and tall hats, and I would see them bow and the ladies would walk by. I said, wow, amazing. But then I would see a sign that says, wanted, runaway slaves, $10. Wanted, runaway slaves, $50. Wanted, runaway slaves, $500. And it even went up to $1,000. So I started creeping around because, sir, I did not want to go back to slavery. And it was up to me not to trust anybody. So if anybody came up to me, I don't care if they were black, white, or what, and they said, oh, you need some help? I was afraid of them because I was assured that they would probably say, oh, come go with me. And I would go to them right back to slavery. Well, there was a gentleman by the name of Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones came up to me, and he said, are you from the South? I said, yes. He said, you can trust me. Come go with me. Well, he took me to this lawyer's house, this black lawyer's. And the lawyer welcomed me. And he welcomed me so much so that he let me spend the night. Prior to that, I was telling him about my life. Well, I have you know, the next morning when I came down, guess who was sitting in the parlor? Take a guess who was sitting in the parlor.
You.
Me? No, I was coming down the stairwell. I can't be two places at one time.
John Brown.
No, John Brown wasn't in the picture yet. Anybody want to take a guess? Who do you think was sitting there waiting on me? Nope.
William Lloyd Garrett.
Nope, he wasn't in the picture yet. Good shot, though. Anybody else? Who do you think was sitting there waiting on me when I came down the next morning? Take a guess.
Maybe the man with the rabbit.
Nope. Who do you think was sitting there?
Your lovely lady?
There it is.
What, the wife?
My Anna was sitting here. They sent for my Anna. And she was sitting there, and believe it or not, when she got there, we had a discussion about my name. Now, if you notice, I have not said anything about my name. I just said Frederick, and I said Freddie. Well, they gave me the name of Frederick Augustus Washington Bailey.
Wow.
I'll say it again. Frederick Augustus Washington Bailey. And if you decide that you want to look up in my name in the annals of time, you will see Frederick Augustus Washington Bailey. Well, at this time, we started talking, sir, about giving me a new name. The gentleman whose home I was at, guess what his name was? Johnson. And he said, honestly, he said, well, how about changing your name to Johnson? I said, there's already a million Johnsons. That's why nobody can escape from slavery. So I said, I'll bypass on Johnson. Well, to be honest with you, I took Johnson for maybe about 2 or 3 days. And then I heard about this play, Lady on the Lake. And inside this play, there was an actor by the name of Douglas. Douglas with 1 S. Well, when it came to choosing that name, because he said Douglas, I said, I like that name. He said, you like that name? I said, yeah, I'll take that name. But I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll put another S on it. So when people say my name, they have to respect it. Douglas. Everybody say that. Douglas. Yes, it has a ring to it, don't it? Say it again. Douglas. As a matter of fact, ma'am, I know I'm supposed to be here to do this presentation, but the rest of the time we all just going to sit here and say, Douglas. It has such a ring to it. Douglas. Thank you very much for coming out. I can hear this now. Everybody's going home and saying, Douglas. What did you learn tonight? I can see them going to school tomorrow. What did you learn last night? Douglas. So anyway, Mr. Johnson told us, he said, well, Frederick, I think it's about time that you all make it on up north. before we left the home, he had a preacher come over. That preacher came over, and that preacher married us. Yes. So it became Mr. and Mrs.
Douglas.
There you go. That's right. Well, we made our way on up north to Nantucket. We made our way on up to Massachusetts. And as we got there, I was so amazed at what I saw, how the homes and the carriages and just how people were living. I couldn't believe that people lived like that coming from the world of slavery. Well, I wound up getting maybe about 5 different jobs. Yeah, 5 different jobs to support my wife and I. And on top of that, sir, we started having a family. We had our little daughter, Rosetta, and if you look back on that same green board, you see my children. The young lady is Rosetta.
I think that's your phone. Back there, behind the...
Oh, sorry about that.
It's Douglas's phone.
I have you know, we did not have phones back then.
Wow.
Don't be making fun of me. Okay, so,
Time travel.
see, this is a dead giveaway. Now somebody's going to say, he's not Frederick Douglass. He got a phone. So anyway, allow me to say this before I go forward. Thank you all for being such a good audience. So anyway, we made, as I said, we made it up north. And I had a gentleman come to me. As a matter of fact, I got one of my jobs, I was building roofs. And when I came down to put my shirt on and kind of, you know, clean my hands up a little bit, this black gentleman came to me and he says, sir, what's your name? I said, Frederick. Who's asking? And forgive me, I forget the gentleman's name. But he had a newspaper with him. And he said, have you ever heard of the Liberator? I said, oh, from afar, I heard of it. I understand that it's a magazine about, or a newspaper about anti-slavery, about the abolitionist movement, you know, but I'm not interested. So he started getting angry. He said, oh, you one of them uppity young black men. I said, what do you mean? He said, you don't have time for anti-slavery, about the slavery movement? I said, sir, I have you know, I stand before you this day with my degree on my back. And he says, huh? So when I turned around, I took my shirt back up, and he says, oh, you was a slave. I said, yes, I was a slave. He said, well, most definitely, we could use you. I said, use me for what? To tell your story. And he says, tomorrow, can you come and join us at the hall? Maybe about 6:30 in the evening. I said, oh, I'll think about it. So I went home and told Anna about it. You know what Anna said? Anna said, Frederick, go, go. But I started thinking about her. She said, Frederick, you have been an excellent husband to me. Go. It might be something good for you. So I go, and